So today I thought I would talk about something that we all know, but that we rarely allow ourselves to live by, and that is the impermanence of life. You know, we know that everything changes every minute, every hour, every second of the day. That's life, it changes. And nobody really knows what's round the corner. And nobody really knows how long we have in this lifetime. And that's the uncomfortable truth. The uncomfortable truth that we don't really like talking about. But understanding that and accepting that life is impermanent is what gives every moment of our lives meaning. And most of us are, walking about this life with a collection of unspoken rules, how we should act, how we should behave, how we should feel, how other people should act, feel and behave, how our lives should turn out. We have expectations about that, don't we? And these expectations that we have, these beliefs and attitudes that we have towards ourselves and lives and others, well, we come from our particular culture, don't they? Our culture, our family, our workplace, our patterns of our habitual ways of thinking about things. And it's when life doesn't follow that internal script that we have, that's when we get stressed, when we get frustrated about things, when we feel disconnected from others, from life. And that's where communication breakdowns begin, isn't it? It's not so much in the words that we say, but in the gap between reality and our version of reality. We don't have to look very far to see that, in our most intimate relationships and family relationships, friends, work, and it's in the high pressure environments like the corporate environments that we see this, really pronounced. I've been one of them. When we're walking about and everybody thinks that you're quite composed and you've got it all sorted, you've got it all going together, but inside, you're wrestling with this internal conflict of fear and worry and anxiety about, I've not enough time, to get this project finished, I can't get this case done, worried about I'm not going to be able to live up to the standards and expectations of this organisation. I can't live up to the standards and expectations of my family, of my partner, friend. I can't. We're always trying to. We're always living up to somebody else's expectations. Always trying to prove ourselves. And this is where mindfulness is powerful. And it's not so much in its ability to bring calm and relaxation. I mean, that's a side effect of practice, but more in its ability to build capacity within us, capacity to pause, to build capacity to be honest with ourselves, to build capacity to turn towards the things that we avoid, that we find uncomfortable. And it's these difficult conversations. We avoid these, don't we? We avoid these difficult conversations. We suppress our emotions. we push through the exhaustion, don't we, and pretend that everything's just fine. You know, and it's in constantly avoiding these conversations that puts our health and safety at risk. The more we avoid, the more we're putting our own health and safety and putting other people's health and safety at risk, and putting the world at risk. And it just keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck in these old, unhealthy, habitual patterns of avoidance. It just keeps us stuck in that. And that just disconnects us from each other, from our own lives. And everybody's like going about wanting to be more connected, but this kind of behavior, it creates more distance. And mindfulness helps us to be able to notice when we are reacting rather than responding in a kind of with a deeper sense of awareness. It helps us to recognize when we are resisting change, because as they say, the only guarantee in life is change. So it kind of helps us to kind of be a bit more okay with the impermanence of life. And that kind of helps us to be a little bit braver, a little bit more trusting of the process. And I've been hit with that very recently. And it reminds us, it helps us to just be a bit more present with our own lives and with each other. And it's when we stop fighting with impermanence, with the whole impermanence of life, when we stop fighting that, we stop wasting time on the things that we just can't control. And that kind of helps us be a little bit more adaptable, a little bit more grounded, hopefully. And it also helps to clear up. It makes us more clear in our communication rather than resorting to that old defensive way of communicating. So it's a good thing, isn't it? Can't be bad. So while I've still got you here, if you're still here, I know it's a long video, why don't we just take a few slower, deeper breaths. Just take a few slower, deeper breaths in and out. And maybe even focusing on the out breath. When you breathe out, just let these shoulders just drop away from the neck. And on your next out breath, just feel the weight of your body on the seat and your feet on the ground. And then maybe just allow your breath to return to its natural breathing rhythm. And I'm going to invite you to drop a question into your mind. And when you drop it in, don't go searching for an answer. Just let it arise in its own time. So the question is, what am I avoiding in my life? And ask yourself again, what am I avoiding in my life? So thank you for listening so far. And my wish for all of us is to just live our lives with a little bit more ease. Have a good day.